My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca Jorge, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Samas, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paulini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever it is in the world where you are. But Vanch, it's now just turned midday where you are. So I was about to say good morning to you, but it's now 23 minutes past midday, right?
That's right. Yeah, 23 minutes past noon.
And we have just witnessed a classic, a Davis Cup classic between Flavio Cobolli and Zizou Bergs. I have the score and some of the stats up on the screen right now, but the most dramatic stat of all was that it was, am I right, 17-15 in the third set tiebreak?
That's right. Yeah, 32 points played total in the tiebreak. 7 match points saved by both players until 15 all. Crazy stuff.
Yeah. When I saw 15 all, I even said to you, I got a little bit confused for a second. I couldn't understand why they'd gone back to a regular match. But of course, it was 15 all in the tiebreak, and eventually Cobolli emerging. There'll be whoever was going to lose that match was going to have regrets. I mean, Cobolli, of course, had a couple of match points on Zizou's serve at 15-40 in the normal element of the set. But ultimately, it is Flavio that puts Italy into the final and a chance to win. What about that match point save? Let's just go randomly into that. That one, I think you said it was at 7-6 in the tiebreak.
Yeah, that's right. 7-6 for Bergs, and Bergs has already had 6-4, so he's already let two of them slip away. I mean, on one of them, like Cobolli countered with a really good running forehand. Another one, Bergs just missed a basic early ball. So now this third one, you're thinking, okay, he's got this. He's pushed Flavio into the corner. Flavio comes up with this lob. It resets the point. But some of those dicks from Flavio in the backhand corner, and then the way he was able to just go from defense to offense, I think that was the most impressive match point save, because you had a lot of them, but honestly, some of them were just it was incredible drama, some poor decision making at times from both of them, understandably so tight. But that one stands out, the 7-6, the digs from Flavio, the backhand side.
I also saw the earlier match, which had a lot less drama in it, involving Berrettini and Collignon. Berrettini was up a set and a break. What I found a little bit surprising was just how Collignon didn't go for the backhand a bit more in the second set in particular, which is what I saw. I just thought, you know what? I know it's predictable. Same with Stefanos. I know it's a predictable tactic, and it's not always easy. I get that. You can't just find the backhand unless you're Rafa, but it was there. Now I know you can get predictable, but that's fine. Honestly, Berrettini's backhand is so much worse than his forehand that I would just say, you know what? It's okay to go there 8-9 times out of 10. As soon as you see the chance, go for it big style down the line and towards the forehand, sure. But otherwise, just keep going. It's okay, even if he knows it's coming. But that's an aside. What did you think of that last singles match, Brenner?
That was crazy. To be honest. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, decision making was tough. I thought Bergs had the edge the whole final set, and Cobolli was able to hang on. I mean, just huge serving for both players when they needed it most. The amount of lines they hit on first serves, break point down, match point down, insane.
Yeah.
No drop shot used, I don't think, really all match until that final one. Just a bunch of unreal points.
Any final thoughts on Cobolli Bergs before we move on, Vanch?
No, not really. I mean, Brenner just reminded me of the two good serves that Cobolli came up with, middle of the tiebreak. I think that was big. But then you thought, okay, now is the time. But you didn't expect that it would go all the way till 15 all. And then, Cobolli just saw that drop shot coming, I feel like, from a mile away. He's so quick. And he was so good at getting up there and just doing something productive with it. And I think Bergs will probably have regrets about it for a while, but I guess regardless, he's probably had a really good year. Bergs, finishing in the top 45, and I guess Italy now has a chance to win the Davis Cup for the third time in a row, right? Because they're in the final, and without Yannick, so it'll be interesting to see if if Flavio and Matteo are able to do the job in the final. But yeah.
Indeed, that final will be against Spain or Germany. That's the tie for tomorrow. What any sort of Davis Cup thoughts, either looking ahead to that one or anything else that's happened this week, Brenna?
Yeah, I mean, Zverev looked really impressive yesterday. I thought Cerundolo was not his best, but not far off it. And just really, really high level stuff from Zverev, especially in the second set tiebreak. That was really clutch. And then obviously just another insane finish. I thought we were going to be potentially heading for a doubles rubber here, but yesterday's were very dramatic as well between Argentina and Germany. So I think it's been a good tournament. And we had that conversation about a month ago, John, where we talked about, Jannik Sinner not playing. And I just think that the Davis Cup still needs a little bit more support, praise, maybe just like some special aura around it. But I think it's difficult when it's an annual event.
Vanch, what do you think about changing the Davis Cup in some way, either going back to how it used to be, either doing something which I've actually kind of said for a few years now, but I see it's now gaining traction amongst some of the players, which is even to do it every second year. What do you think about having the culmination anyway over a 2-year period? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think fans need a chance to be able to miss something like the World Cup of tennis, right? If you're going to call it the World Cup, no World Cup in any sport happens every year. No. So if you can make it every 2 years and you can build that excitement, you'll better be able to market it, promote it. You'll get more top players playing it because they'll really prioritize it, and they'll make it they'll make it like kind of a thing that they want to achieve in their career, because a lot of them feel like it's lost that aura because they don't have the same kind of atmosphere when you put it in a neutral location like Malaga or Bologna, and you have two other teams playing. I mean, if Italy is playing great, the atmosphere will be through the roof, electric. But if it's just like Germany against Netherlands, for example, you'll have to create that atmosphere.
True. There was a lot of Belgians there today, though, weren't there? It seemed like there was a lot of Belgians inside that arena today.
Yeah, I mean, they've added more home and away ties before the final 8, which I think is a good move. But if there was some more, I mean, the timing of the calendar is always going to be tough. I don't think that's going to change. But if you can make it every 2 years, I think that could give it some more novelty, which is what's missing. And then you also have Labour Cup in September and the Billie Jean King Cup at the same time, United Cup afterwards. So, but the Davis Cup should be the main priority. Like, that should be the team event that has the most prestige because it's been around the longest, and it just deserves that little bit extra gravitas. So
I think history is huge. I think that makes a big difference. I mean, you can just create an event as the United Cup has been, or previous to that, the ATP Cup, but they were just both created in the last 6-7 years, weren't they? I think initially ATP Cup, and then there was the move, and that's okay. But yeah, it's all in Australia, and everyone's kind of excited about the new season. But everyone's also thinking, okay, how can I use this to have a good run in the Australian Open? That's what it's all about, really, if the players were being honest. Yeah, sure. It's, once you get in that final, I'm sure the Americans, for example, this year were delighted to take the title. But it was the Americans who won the United Cup this year, wasn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
Just checking. See, there you go. That's also tells you something. Now, I know you might just go, John, that's because you're not thinking straight. But I know who wins the Davis Cup. I know who wins the Billie Jean King Cup. But remembering who won the United Cup or the ATP Cup over the years is trickier. Any thoughts on that, Brenna?
No, I only had one other thing come to mind, and that was the decision by the Czechs for their doubles match yesterday.
Okay.
I think they have a specialist on that squad, if I'm not mistaken, and it was a last-minute change. They went to Mahac and Mensik. So I don't know if you guys have thoughts on that. I mean, once again, it was fun to see Martinez, like, playing well again. Hope he gets his stuff back for his singles. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. Mensik had played the first singles match. Mahac, I think, is the right decision, but from what I read about it, seemed that they did have a double specialist on the squad and opted not to take him in that final match.
Yeah, they did have Adam Pavlicek, which I guess would have been a good option, but I guess yeah, I mean they haven't used Mahac for the singles, and maybe he I mean I guess Mahac is also a gold medalist, so it's not like a bad choice, but
yeah.
And I don't know, maybe he gels better with Menchik, but
it's all about the result at the end of the day. If they win, then it's the best decision ever. If they lose, it's worst. If they stick with the double specialists, who knows? In they might still have lost anyway. But I'm glad you brought it up, Brenner, and it's certainly something to think about always with these team dynamics. And looking forward. But yeah, back to just one more thing on this. I have considered the idea as well of having the next host. I don't think tennis will ever go this way because I think there's too many other politics going on. But if you had the host every 2 years, for example, being the previous winner, then I think that would also make it interesting. So that way you guaranteed the host, because I remember Spain, I think, hosted in 2023, but there was no Spain in that final 8. I think Finland had a lot of support because there was like this Finnish basically town near Malaga where all these Finnish expats lived, etc. And there was a big British contingent there because Malaga's not too far away for the UK, but also again lots of British people living in Spain. So there was some still good vibes there. I remember Australia in that tournament as well, and Italy too, and Serbia. So actually the stadium was pretty much full and had a pretty good atmosphere throughout, but Spain were absent from that tournament. And I just think that maybe if you just had the winner, you're not going to get this because there's contracts out there. Italy's got the host, for example, for the next 2 or 3 years, I think, at least in Bologna. And there'll be other lucrative deals going on that probably prevent this from happening. But I do like the idea of then that just breaks down the calendar a little bit. It also guarantees you a host nation. And they've kind of qualified as well. They've deserved it. It's not just going, there's a weird thing with, I remember, I think maybe last year, Vanch, where Britain, just for whatever reason, were given a bye through to the September qualifiers. Do you remember that? And it might not have been just Britain. I think it was Britain and Spain last year. And why? Just because the powers that be just said, yeah, we want Britain and Spain to be going far in this tournament because Spain are hosting it. Brits tend to bring a decent crowd, etc., etc. So I remember when that was announced in November 23 at like the draw ceremony where they said, look, Britain and Spain are already into the September, qualifiers, if you like, rather than the April or the February version, which again is just, that's not justified. They're not there through results on the court. You're looking as though you can't quite remember, Vanch, what I'm talking about.
I think I remember. It's been so long, but
it was a long time ago. But it's those kind of things.
I think they got it over Canada, maybe, and Canada.
Yeah.
I think Canada was snubbed a little bit. I don't remember the exact controversy, but it sounds very familiar.
But if you had the host nation having won it 2 years before, they have kind of qualified. That's the sort of cherry on the cake. I mean, that's what they do in the Eurovision song contest. The following year's host is the one that won it the year before. And anyway, all right. Davis Cup tick, I think, for now. Italy in the final.
Wait, one more thing on yesterday, because I just remembered. Echeverry just served out of his mind the last 2 games of his match against Leonard Struff.
No. Thomas Martin Echeverry.
Yeah, he was down 5-6, love 15, and the guy just comes up with 7 aces in a row, which
yes.
And then he hit 2 more in the tiebreak, and then he ends up winning it 6-6 to put Argentina ahead of 1-0. And so that was just.
Was it you, Vanch, who tweeted something about someone doing 10 in a row once?
Yeah. The record is Sam Querrey in 2007 in Indianapolis against James Blake, and he hit 10. And and he was actually, funny enough, he was commentating on the match for Tennis Channel, which I was watching on, and he was really hoping that he doesn't get that record broken. So that was funny.
Oh, really? He wanted to be.
He's like, I'm supposed to be unbiased here, but please don't break that record.
And that was Sam Querrey saying that, was it?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if that was James Blake's, even though James Blake was on the receiving end, whether he still wanted to be a part of that record. I'm not sure you would, but anyway, but yeah, that's fine. Sam Querrey is a funny guy, and I appreciate that.
Yes.
Okay. Next part of this show is reflecting on the ATP and WTA awards. I'm going to share on the screen right now the different award winners, if you like. So here, also the nominees, I should say. The awards will be handed out later on. As far as we're aware, Brenna, these nominees and eventual winner will be voted on by the International Tennis Writers Association. So that is basically a bunch of journalists. And I was checking out the website today to see, who's on that list and who isn't. Most of the names you'll be very familiar with, people like Ben Rothenberg, Simon Chambers, Yannick, I think his name's Yannick Schneider, a German journalist who often focuses on sort of, some of the controversial things that occur in the sport, including drugs, and a bunch of others. Simon Graf, a Swiss journalist, Steve Flink, of course, who's been on this show, etc., etc. Now, the reason why I think it's the most controversial element is this Breakthrough of the Year award. I think Mensik, Vachereau, and Fonseca, Vanch, does kind of make sense, right, with those three?
Yeah, I would have had those three. I mean, those are like pretty standout breakthroughs from outside the top 100 to where they are now, and especially Vachereau. I think Vachereau might be a clear winner, no matter who is nominated, just because his was like the most improbable run. But yeah, I guess where the controversy is the fourth pick, right?
Yeah, Jack Draper, who was ranked. Brenner, do you know where he was ranked this time last year? I think 15.
Yeah, sounds right. I was reading a lot of tweets on it. Yeah, but then I also, was it Pavi G or it might have been someone else? Yeah, I think it was Pavi G who pointed out Draper's dad and some sort of influence there. Regardless, I don't know how you can put him on this list. Just nothing like the other three. And I understand, like, I guess the argument would be, look what he did in 6 months, and it's totally impressive, but it's just like very different from these three.
Most improved, maybe most improved, because that's a different sort of question, isn't it, Vanch? Most improved. You can go from 2 to 1 and still be the most improved player on the tour for one reason or another, especially if there was a huge gap between you and the first position. But Breakthrough is, I don't think, playing half of the year, maybe a fraction more till July, and then obviously, does come back for the US Open. But on top of that, going from, I think, 15 to maybe 10 in the world, something like that. Now, of course, that is, has the asterisk of the injury in the second half of the season, but that's not really a breakthrough. He was already very much on the radar of potentially winning big titles in 2025.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Draper last year, he made the US Open semifinals. He won a 500. He won another title. He finished the year 15 in the world. And so if you go from like 15 to top 5, like the way Sinner did in 2023, that's a good candidate for most improved. But that's not the category is breakthrough. So that's like someone like, Lerner went from like 121, or he was outside the world's top 120 and he finishes like 28. And same with Fonseca, honestly. So Lerner not being on this instead of Draper is like very questionable to me, just because like it's the same caliber of type of breakthrough as Joao basically, and like Jack last year he already broke through. I think last year would have been a good time for Draper to get this award, and I don't remember, he might have already been nominated, but like again, like it doesn't make sense. Like 2025, Draper, and he also didn't play the full year, so he hasn't even played like since Wimbledon. He's only played one match. Yeah. And so that makes it even more odd, because it's like he went from 15 to 10. Obviously, he was 4 or 5 in the first 6 months. I get that. And he won a Masters and all that, but it's not a breakthrough. He's been on the tour for so long, and his breakthrough would have been last year, where he played most of the season healthy. But
I think it's, rather than going down a nepotism or conspiracy theory route, as some people no doubt.
This tweet from Amy. This could be part of it. It's a good point.
Yeah, I think it's more a case of, I think there's two factors at play. I think fashionable, João Fonseca for sure is extremely fashionable in terms of talking about him and being aware of him, and perhaps because of his nationality. I don't know. Certainly the style of play as well. So I do think there's an element of Lerner maybe not being on the
He's not as
radar.
flashy, right? Yeah. He's not like, his style is not so much like in your face, flashy.
No.
Kind of, you don't see the big weapons coming right at you. He's more of like a, he uses his court smarts and his he outmaneuvers you, and it's not obvious to the like average person.
Yep, exactly. And then the other element, which is kind of related to it as well, I think therefore he's not on the radar as much as other players when it comes, even for journalists and people who and many of I was looking at the list today of the 100 or so, 100 plus, I think, maybe 170 according to this tweet here, journalists. Some of them I'm very aware of, some of them I'm not. There's a bunch of nationalities in there. There's a couple of Spanish journalists in there who I know, but I do know how the tennis media is, and I probably would say that half of the newsroom, half of the press conference, they don't watch a huge amount of tennis, partly because that's not their job, partly because they're a broadcaster, and all they have to do is get ready for that post-match interview or whatever it is. And they may have a different beat for 51 weeks of the year. They're doing something else. They may be in Hamburg courts covering, those kind of stories. And then suddenly a week a year, they're doing the Hamburg because they're covering it for the Hamburg Abendblatt, the local newspaper in Hamburg, and so on and so forth. So I do think there's an element of that. Now, of course, those guys are often not on this tennis journalist list, but some of them, believe it or not, are. So I think there's a mixture of those two things. What do you think, Brenna?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'll start at like the play style. I understand it's not flashy. I think that not that it has anything to do with the award, but I think it makes for an even greater case. But I mean, you can read the breakthrough of the year description. They talk about players who made the biggest breakthrough with milestone wins, significant jumps in the rankings, and first ATP Tour titles. While there aren't age restrictions, the award is aimed at next gen and young players. So like I said, it's just like one of these players is not like the other three, and Leonard Tien fits in perfectly with that description. So, and I don't know, like with Jack Draper, yes, Indian Wells, like that was impressive. That was his only title this year. So, I don't know.
Yeah, as I say, if it was about most improved, I think there's a huge case for Jack. Of course, him being absent for 5 months doesn't help, but it's just, breakthrough is something the other three have very much done, and Jack has.
Did you see that funny tweet from Jeff Sackman?
I did. I did, about the number of British-based journalists. Is it accurate, by the way?
No, probably not. He's probably over-exaggerating, but still, it's really funny. It's
exactly. Me too.
32 out of 170 are British. Oh, I guess.
Yeah, I've got it here. Yeah.
It's really funny.
And I did have that in mind as I was going through the list, and of course I saw plenty of non-British journalists, and there may be some journalists as well that are based in the UK and not necessarily from the UK, but still, that was very amusing. I think I laugh quoted that as well. Looking at some of the other, there is this tweet as well from Eddie, which highlights what he believes is also a lack of Janice Chen as well on the women's newcomer of the year. And then, of course, he also says that Tien should surely have been nominated for the ATP Breakthrough of the Year. Just having a look at some of the other categories, we have Sportsman of the Year. To be honest with you, I think this is a really difficult one because I think half the tour are probably showing good sportsmanship at some point or another. Do they highlight one particular incident or they just focused on?
No, I mean, this used to be voted on, I feel like, by the players, right? Or it was like a short list given to the short list picked out from tennis journalists and then voted on by their colleagues amongst that short list. So I'm not surprised by any of these names because these are all like the good eggs, like Casper and Felix and Grigor, and I feel like they've won it the last. Carlos has won it in 2023. Ruud won it in 2022. Grigor won it last year. I guess Felix hasn't won it yet, so it would be nice for him to, win, like just something different, because this award was basically hijacked by Federer and Nadal for like 20 years. It was like Federer won like 20 years in a row or 18 in a row, and then Nadal finally won one. It was very weird. It was like just basically a Roger Federer only award, essentially. But yeah, this one is
I
like the
think,
most subjective. I mean, you could point to a good
yeah,
sportsmanship from all these four. I guess from Carlos, you could remember the match that he played against Ben Shelton in RG. That one sticks out to me, where he dove for the backhand volley, and then he said actually by racket.
yeah, because I think he let go of his racket.
Yeah, he let go of his racket. The umpire was about to give him the point, but he gave the point to Shelton, and ended up being a big break point for Ben. So that one kind of stands out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised Alcaraz Alcaraz might win it again, but I'd like to see this one being like more different players getting it. I think that's cooler. So Felix, who hasn't won it yet, he might be my pick.
Do they matter, Brenna? Do you think Felix will be doing cartwheels if he wins this award?
That's a fair question. No, I don't think so, but it's nice to be, recognized for essentially your character. But like going back to this description, the only other thing that they mentioned besides, just having good professionalism and integrity is promoting the game through their off-court activities. I feel like in tennis, we do get caught up a lot. I mean, it's hard because, right, the tour is quite demanding and you're always, you're always playing. So there's not much time, and obviously all players do their best, but I feel like that could be highlighted as well. More of like what these players are doing in their off seasons to help their communities and whatnot. I don't feel like we see as much of that, but that's the only thing I think about.
Yeah, I think I would rather have it. This is just personal. It's not keeping me awake at night, and I don't think it's keeping many people awake at night. But I would probably rather have an example, an incident, a thing. It might be, Casper Ruud with helping Norwegian youngsters, for example, or it could be Carlos with that point that you highlighted, or something. I rather than just going, what, Roger Federer seems like a nice guy. Let's have him as a nominee and probable winner, because I think, I don't know, half the tour probably show themselves to be good eggs. There's nothing against these four guys on the screen, but I think there's probably another 500 people that could probably be just as good sports. If you had a specific incident where it was like, wow, that was amazing, and as long as they hadn't undermined it by doing something really bad at some other point, then I think that might be better. Or like you say, some sort of work away from the court, if you like, or at least away from the glaring eye.
I have one more thing, John. I mean, this is a little biased because I'm a fan of Rublev, but just for example, I understand because he is a good sport, and I understand maybe to the natural eye all of the aggression on court and competitive, fierce nature, racket smashing, etc., which he's gotten a lot better at. That probably doesn't look too good in that sense, but on the other hand, like, he runs a clothing brand where half the profits go to charity. So if you're purchasing something from him, half of your money is going to charity. So I mean, like, that's just an example that comes to my mind. I feel like,
Yeah, I mean, we could always just change the name rather than sportsmanship, something else. Showing us to say that you're a good guy, that would be fine. But anyway, it is what it is, and probably not too controversial, these nominees. Coach of the year.
Just one more thing. A lot of these people also have like their foundation. So I guess if their foundation does some really good work charity wise, I feel like that comes into it. Like I think FAA, he has like an academy that he is going to be. Like his father has an academy that he's like helping running. I think it's in Quebec. That I heard about.
Casper has something as well to that end.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say with that is if you're ranked 250 in the world, it's probably not quite so easy to start a foundation.
This award is probably going to go to mostly
top 20, top 30 players.
15, top 10.
Yeah.
Like.
Okay. Coach of the year. Any thoughts on this one, Vanch?
I know that Brian Shelton was on the list. I think there's Felix's coach.
Yeah.
Darren Cahill, I guess. Sure, Ferrero. Yeah, that makes sense.
Vachero's coach.
Vachero's coach. Okay. Yeah.
I heard a shout out on Twitter, and excuse me, I can't remember who it was, but I heard a shout out for Bublik's coach.
Yep. I'd agree with that one. It's hard. I think it's hard. Like, I don't know the history on this award as much as you or Vanch probably do.
This one
But
is like maybe arguably the hardest one to decide, because like how
evaluate,
much
yeah.
you don't know how much of it is really, from the coach and how much of it is.
right, Russell won it. Fritz's coach. What was that, last year or 2 years ago? That was, I think that was a fair one. But yeah, I think Bublik, like, what's his name, Artem.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I remember a couple of sort of post nominee announcement comments. First of all, one from Novak a couple of years ago when Ivanisevic was left off the nominee list. But it's difficult because we don't really know how many Grand Slams Novak Djokovic would have won with or without Ivanisevic or Becker or whoever his coach happened to be at the time. Now, obviously, Novak says wonderful things about him, and that's understandable. But it's just really tricky to evaluate. We can see, I think, with Vagnozzi in particular, I think that we have seen incredible improvements with Yannick and the serve and other elements of his game. And I think Simone probably takes more of the credit for that than Darren in terms of the technical side of his game. So, yeah, but although probably not this year, I don't think. I think we would probably be looking at 2023, and I think he may well have won it in 2023, actually, I think, along with Cahill. Yeah. Interesting that Samuel Lopez gets in on the act as well. I hadn't really considered him as significant a coach in Alcaraz's career as Juan Carlos Ferrero, but clearly I could well be wrong on that one.
I mean, I guess it's new, but I guess the objection there is he went alone to like 3 or 4 tournaments this year. I can't name off the top of my head. I know Rotterdam is one of them.
I think Monte Carlo too.
Monte Carlo is one. So I think that
Queens maybe, tournaments like that. Yeah, usually.
I remember
Ferrero
Carlos
can't travel the whole year, so I guess they need.
Carlos Moya never went to Wimbledon, pretty much, with Rafa. It's always, I think Roig was there as the coach for that. And anyway, yeah, that's that. All right. Anything on the WTA side regarding these nominations? Do we know or remember the list, Vanch, for the WTA side?
I mean, Player of the Year, there were like 5 or 6 different ones. So it just depends. Like, do you want to just give it to Arena?
For me, it has to be Sabalenka, though, right? Player of the Year.
No, I mean, Keys was on it, I think. Ego was on it. Coco. Like, basically the 4 slam winners. And, yeah, Anisimova, Rybakina. I think it's more obvious on the WTA, actually, this year. Because it's like, newcomer. Yeah, most improved.
Oh, they've got a Match of the Year category as well. They've got a Moment of the Year. I'm just looking at they've got a Moment of the Year that they've promoted. This is for voting. Oh, so it looks like probably their awards will be just done by a vote, I guess, on the website.
Yeah, I know.
So they've got Moment of the Year, and they've got Match of the Year. At least this is on their I'm looking at the WTA social media feed. I don't see their Player of the Year category.
Are all the matches like non-major matches?
Yeah.
Could be WTA
so it doesn't include
Tour.
The Grand Slams title. Yeah, it doesn't include the 4 majors.
Yeah, you're correct.
I remember David Witt won the Coach of the Year. I'm going to say 2023, and then he was out of the door 6 months later, I think, with Pegula. So it might not necessarily mean a huge amount. Right. It might have been 22. You think he won it? It was 22 or 23.
23 maybe, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think 23. But yeah, for me, Player of the Year, Sabalenka. Anyone disagree with that?
No, not really. But I mean, if you really wanted to argue, you could say maybe Madison Keys, just because of the sentimental moment in Australia. But not for the rest of the year for sure, because Sabalenka was the most consistent.
Most improved, Alexandrova, and I remember. I think Andreeva might be in this one, or.
Yeah,
Anisimova,
maybe Alexandrova or Anisimova, right?
Because I think Anisimova probably gets it.
Yeah, and Anisimova, I think most improved. Yeah, I would give her that, just because the jump that she made was insane.
And then you could possibly, if there was a breakthrough or equivalent, you could possibly give that one to Alexandrova, maybe.
Yeah. Finishing in the top 10 at whatever, 32 years old, I guess.
32 as well. Does that count? Is that for or against your case as a breakthrough? I'm not sure.
For but maybe that's more for like a younger player, like
Might be, yeah. I
like
mean, someone who just was outside the top 100, but now, someone like Alex
Which is why I
Yala.
think Eddie is correct to mention Yanis Jen. Like that would have been a good pick. But I'm assuming Ayala might be on that list too, right?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she is newcomer.
Ayala's on
Yeah.
that list.
Mboko?
Mboko, I think Mboko.
Yeah, and I think
actually,
that's
Mboko.
probably the
If
one.
you win a 1,000 and you beat all those players that she did, you get that award.
Yeah, I think I
Mboko.
put a tweet out to this end with my 4 suggestions. I'll see if I can find it before we move on. But yeah. So Sabalenka, I think I went for Mboko from the list. I do remember. So here's the short. There's the ATP one there. But yeah, I do think Mboko maybe would get it. Yeah. Yeah, this one from Jose Morgado, who today, by the way, was just tweeting the scoreline. He was just going like 11-all, 12-all, 13-all during that tie-break. Yeah. Any more thoughts on this before we move on? Here we go. This was my tweet. So I think that's right. Bencic. What's that category? That must be
comeback
of the year.
Comeback year. I think Bencic for sure. Like her comeback was insane.
I think I've gone Bencic and Boko, Anisimova, although I like Alexandrova as well for best progression or whatever. And then for me, it's Sabalenka easily for the first one, quite easily.
Yeah.
If the season was 6 weeks long, then sure, Madison Keys. Did you hear what she said in the podcast that she does along with a few other players? Was she having a sly dig at Rybakina's qualification? Because she went, oh yeah, she won Ningbo or something like that.
Oh really? I didn't.
Yeah, it was. But we need to be careful with the context here. But,
yeah. I did remember seeing something in terms of that video, and that rings a bell, but I don't remember the full thing.
All right,
I think
we'll leave that out.
About how much money she made or something, and then
that was all within that same conversation. Yeah.
I remember Jennifer Brady was just very funny in that video. I don't remember nothing else.
Is she coming back anytime soon, Jen Brady?
Oh, I wish. No, she's been like sidelined with a foot problem for like over 2 years. She just like hasn't
didn't she make a comeback and then go away again, or have I got that wrong?
She was practicing with someone, right?
Yeah, in the summer for a couple of matches, not this year, but maybe 2023. Actually, she came back
maybe
for a little bit, and then hasn't been back since. She's been gone at least over 18 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awards tick. Final subject that I want us to talk about is this question of who, if anyone, can challenge Alcaraz and Sinner in 2026. When I say challenge, because I think that's the key word, and we need to define that would mean beating them probably in a slam final, or at least en route to winning a slam. Maybe getting very close to them in the rankings, not Zverev levels of close, like 5,000 or 6,000 points off. What else do you think we could include? Having a better head-to-head, but having played them at least 3 times, maybe beating them in a master. They don't have to do all of these things, by the way. But if they did one of these things, that would be, that would tick the list. Jack Draper, you could argue in 2025, does tick that because he did beat Alcaraz en route to winning Indian Wells. If he'd stayed fit for the second half of the season and maybe beaten one of them in a slam, I think you could basically tick that box. And of course, he is arguably, is he the leading contender? Do you think Jim Courier certainly thinks he's the leading contender? I saw that comments coming from the tennis channel this week. And our YouTube poll, which had about getting on for 1,000 votes in it last time I looked. Yeah, or actually 600 votes. But they had Jack Draper at the top by quite some margin. And I think they might be right. What do you think, Vanch?
I probably would. I think of all those players, he probably has the least weaknesses. Like the most complete game when it comes to, you can see the damage that he did in Indian Wells with that big lefty serve, the way he's able to terminate points with his forehand, the kind of the win against Alcaraz, 2 wins over Alcaraz now. He almost won 2 Masters 1000s because he almost won Madrid. So I guess he does kind of have the most consistency upside, if you know what I mean. Like the others, I think have the upside, but like he's probably the one who could, like, if healthy for the whole year. Like if he was healthy this year, I mean, he finished number 10. And he hasn't played like anything post Wimbledon, so that kind of tells you that like he would have been like a top 5 bet, I think, for sure, if he had just played more. Ben certainly has the highs, but he doesn't quite have the record against the top players, and he still has so much he can improve on. Felix, you do kind of wonder outdoors if he can, from that, like, let's say February through August stretch, if he can really consistently be the force week in and week out. And he still has some holes, like the backhand as a whole, like Zverev, the scar tissue and the inability to go for it in the big moments, as we know. Fritz, I think, is going to be super consistent, but he's still going to have issues against the top two and some others.
I mean, Fritz and Fonseca. So the question, by the way, you can see it is framed slightly differently, but it is also essentially the same point. Who's going to be the next new, Grand Slam winner? And almost certainly they'll have to be at least one of, or maybe even both. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? To beat Yannick and Carlos back to back, maybe in a slam run. And then I think that would certainly answer the question. And there, Fritz and Fonseca, I think, are the ones that got the most mentions in the comments that were not. You can only have, like on Twitter, you can only have 4 in the list. So of course I could have gone for 3 and then other. But for me, actually, I felt pretty, just trying to judge it objectively, they are the 4 most prominent names. I think Fritz and Fonseca's coming from too far back right now. That doesn't mean that Fonseca won't be the next one. I think one of the comments was like, no one in the coming years anyway. And that might be right as well. I mean, we've had now 2 years in a row where they've split the slams. I saw your tweet as well, Vance, was quite amusing. And regarding maybe if they, if Carlos and Yannick both completed the career slam next year, that would be fun and quite possible, I think. Do we think that Carlos is more likely to win Australia than Yannick is to win the French, or is it 50-50 on that one? Go on, Vance, you can answer that first.
I think he has slightly better chances because he has the first shot. But that's the only reason, because it's Australia has first. And
so in other words, it's just 50-50. Like in terms of the question, which one's more likely to win, rather than just the career slam. I know what you mean with that coming next, but Yannick has a 48% chance of winning the Roland Garros, and Carlos has a 48% chance of winning Australia, something like that. Maybe a bit less.
Something like that, because it does feel like surfaces are going to start mattering less. Like they're just better everywhere, so it feels like the style that they play is less about the surface and more about who is a little bit better on the day and who serves better on the day, rather than like the surface. Like Sinner can beat Alcaraz on clay, Alcaraz can beat Sinner on hard courts, indoors, outdoors. Like it's less about that for me. So I would say maybe, I don't know, it's like really splitting hairs. Like I would say Alcaraz just slightly, just because he's going to be first, and it would be kind of surprising if he didn't make the final of Australia at this point.
Yeah, so, although Yannick has been much closer to winning.
He has, but
that one, but
it's.
Brenner, there's sort of 2 things that I want you to address. First of all, is the question you can see on the screen, but then also, if you have anything to add to what we just said about Yannick and Carlos next year.
Yeah, I mean, I would start at Jack Draper as well. I use this term polished, I guess more so when I talk about lefties. I don't know, because I just think of Ben Shelton, erratic game. But yeah, I just think I also think like an underrated aspect, and like the more important aspect when you look at like the Fritz, for example, but Jack Draper as an athlete, his size, his stature, and the weapons, right? Those are all checking the boxes in terms of what you need to at least compete. And you also have to think about like his ability to like continue to progress, right? Where we're thinking about Fritz, like I think he's maximized everything he can, and he's played at a high level. It's just like about taking his chances when they come, and they have presented themselves, but you have to take them, right? Who knows? I hope Holger Rune can get back into this conversation. I mean, haven't seen much Grand Slam success, so that's really hard to say right now, and we won't be having a conversation about him for quite a while. I don't think I don't know if he'll even play any of the majors next year. So we'll see there. And then Shelton, like I feel like he has to be the guy who backs up, right behind Draper. Obviously not putting Zverev really in this conversation. Felix has shown it, but yeah, talk about that backhand wing. It's tough, but from like the Shelton perspective, it's like, how can he get better at playing the bigger points, I guess, better, and like maybe some point construction, because as I think about, like, I thought it got so much better just as like rally tolerance as a whole this season, but just like ability to put himself in those positions and then really execute. I don't know. You just think about like getting a love 30 lead in a service game against, Sinner or Alcaraz. Like, how can you maximize your opportunity and not throw it away? So, because like, yeah, you think about those two guys, just such big servers, they're going to have a lot of success holding and see if they can use whatever pressure they can. So I'd say those two are at the top for me. In terms of the
the two lefties, the two big lefties, but Draper more polished at the moment.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not much to add to the Sinner Alcaraz conversation. I only really agree with the fact that surfaces are coming more irrelevant. I mean, even there, right? You have to give like that was probably like the biggest edge, I think. I know it's best of three, so it's a different conversation, but Turin at home, indoor hard, haven't been broken in however many matches. Like that was like, I guess, as close to the top level as you get from Sinner. And I don't think there was much separating the two in that match.
No.
I mean, yes, a little bit, more power, more aggression in some of those bigger rallies, and Sinner played the bigger points better. And that showed in the scoreboard. But yeah, once again, like, there wasn't much separating them. And, nothing's really going to surprise me if, Sinner goes and wins Roland Garros next year. So.
That tweet from Bastien Fachan was great, and then even Piers Morgan, I don't know if you saw that, got in on the act by saying this is unbelievable. He quote tweeted, like with the 1,651, because now Piers Morgan, of course, as we all know, has become a tennis expert in the last 2 weeks. Watching that interview, by the way, Piers is a, let's call him a casual tennis fan, and so he knows who's won the most Grand Slams. But I remember when he was sort of presenting the case for Novak, obviously being, he just said, "Oh, you've won them," and for a fact he doesn't know that he's won the most Masters, or certainly doesn't know how many Masters he's won. He doesn't know that he's won them all twice. He doesn't know about the weeks at number one and so on and so forth. Now, I know that's not necessarily Piers' job, but it was just funny that he did quote Bastien Fachan's tweet, which was great, by the way. The 1,600, this is off the top of my head, 1,651 points each in all of their matches. So yeah, that was good and fun to hear. But regarding everything you've said and regarding these players, I do see Ben and Jack. I'm a little surprised that Felix polled as highly as that. If you said to me Felix or Zverev, I would still go Zverev, because I think Felix has shown similar frailties to Zverev. My other concern, there is one thing about Draper, though, that I don't think we have touched upon in this conversation, is the mental maybe frailties he showed a little bit at Wimbledon this year, which he admitted to, by the way, in his press conference, saying, now maybe there's also a factor that we've overrated him on grass, partly because he's British, partly because didn't he win Queens, I think, last year? Did he win Queens last year?
Yeah, that's the other thing. He beat Alcaraz, which I think got a lot of this thing, but he won Stuttgart.
Who did he lose to this year? Was it?
He won Stuttgart, right? Yeah, exactly. This year he lost in the semis to
he lost
he
lost in the hedge, and then he lost to Cilic in the second round at
Yeah.
Wimbledon. And that was a case where he just got rushed and outplayed and just didn't really handle.
He said he didn't feel comfortable, I think, in the environment. Now that might be. I mean, we've seen him get to the semifinals in New York, so maybe at the other three slams he doesn't feel that same pressure. But you know, if that's one slam a year, that's maybe not going to happen for him.
And you're right about the mental, because we did see that a little bit when he played Bublik also at RG. You know, Bublik put up a good performance, but Draper had some chances to get back into at the end of the fourth set, and Bublik basically was like, you know, if Draper wins this set, I'm probably not going to compete very hard in the fifth. And he said, like, it'll be a 7-5, 6-2 max, which is the most Bublik thing ever. But basically, you know, Draper certainly had his chances in that. You know, he gets a shot at Sinner in the quarters, and you're thinking, okay, Madrid final, Rome quarters, like clay, like this is a, you know, higher bouncing surface. So I kind of was liking his chances to get to the quarters there, but then Bublik just like surprised him. And
yeah, no, John. One more thing on that too, because I was thinking about that as well. I think like over time, like he's just gonna play more big matches and hopefully against these guys, which only can help.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the other thing, as you mentioned, I was just looking at his year as a whole and like his ability, his game just translates, across services. We're having question marks, early about that loss to Fokina, and I thought he showed huge improvements on the clay, and like he'll be fine and dangerous as he already was this year. But going forward, everywhere he's dangerous. He's like,
if for whatever weird reason Australia does end up throwing up these 4 in the semis, okay, and it doesn't matter who's playing who. Shelton could be playing Zverev, or Felix could be playing Shelton, or whatever. We don't know, and we imagine that they all get there in similar fashion. Let's say somehow, maybe one of them beat Zverev, one of them beat Sinner or Carlos, and then I guess someone else must have done so too. But is Zverev the one that we have least, if we just ignore all of those factors and we've just got these 4 in the semis in Australia, is Zverev the one that we have least confidence in because we've seen what he's done over the last 10 years or so, a little bit less, and we maybe don't quite have the same faith in him taking advantage of it. I remember at the US Open when Djokovic had that expulsion a couple of years or 4 or 5 years ago, and Zverev was like, well, it is good. And he was right. This is good for the rest of us because it now gives me a really good chance. I think he may even have described himself as the favorite, but then ultimately him and team wanted to kind of give the match to each other in that final, Vanch.
Yeah, the only thing is though, if it's these 4 players, Zverev has a really good record against lefties. And specifically Shelton.
Yes, he does, yeah.
Like 5-0. So if it is a matchup between Shelton and Zverev and it's best of 5, I still would probably go Zverev. Just because of that edge, like with the backhand, and just because that's the one shot that Zverev is not going to get tied on is the backhand. And you can kind of count on him in that. And like Shelton just hasn't figured out Zverev at all. Like at all. So it's just like that's the one where it would be interesting to see him play Draper and see if that lefty thing still continues, because he has one
Shelton Draper or Zverev Draper.
Zverev Draper, like that's one matchup that we haven't seen that I would love to see in 2026, just for data gathering purposes, because Zverev does have that outstanding record. Besides that one loss to Tien in Acapulco, he has played the lefties really well. So I do wonder if that still holds up if Draper brings his best level, because I do think Draper's best, might break that streak. But I'm curious. And then also Zverev has struggled recently against Felix, and so then you do wonder in the tight moments there also if you'll be able to take advantage. But
yeah, Ghosty here. This is a poll of 600 people that I don't know, so I don't really. I probably have Ben as second, but I think there's a case for all 4 on this list. But I probably would put Felix as the outsider, and then probably put Zverev third, Ben second, Jack first. But it's really nip and tuck. I just don't know about. I think I agree with you, Brenner, that he's got the most polished game with the least weaknesses, but still weapons. So whereas Ben's got weapons, we also know some weaknesses. We've got Zverev with weapons, but he's got history. We've got Felix with a bit of everything, if you like, of all of the above. I almost think that Ben perhaps has the biggest ceiling, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be the next cab off the rank. And by the way, what are the chances, Vanch, we're having exactly the same conversation in a year from now? So in other words, Carlos and Yannick win all 4 slams. I think more than 50,
the gap is so big. Like they're literally just playing a different sport. That's what it feels like right now. Like all these players could improve, but they have to improve by a lot, and they need Sinner and Alcaraz to, drop off a little bit. Like they need some kind of opening, because the fact that one of these guys is gonna go through both just seems very, very unlikely right now. Like over 3 out of 5, and just. Even if Carlos is a little off, you still have to win 3 sets against him, and he's like way more consistent now. Like it just seems like a really hard thing on any surface for these guys too.
So the final question, I think, for both of you is, and I'll start with you, Brenner. This time next year, is it going to be, even if we include Djokovic in this, so he's obviously wouldn't be a new Grand Slam winner, Cilic as well. And is there anyone else out there who won a Grand Slam? Who else won a Slam? No one? Cilic and Djokovic, is that it?
Medvedev.
Oh, Medvedev, yeah, of course. Yeah. But basically, the question I want to ask is: this time next year, will it be the same two, even if it's 3-1 or they've mixed up the slams or someone somehow does a calendar slam. But basically, is it going to be those two players that win all 4 slams next year again, Brenner?
Yeah, like them or the field, and like I think they are. They're a heavy favorite. They're a heavy favorite. Yeah, I think it's difficult. You're gonna need a lot to go.
I think we're gonna have some new Masters 1000 winners again. Like I think we're gonna have maybe a situation where Carlos and Yannick win 2 or 3 of them each, but then there's like a new Masters 1000 champion. Maybe Draper repeats. You know, maybe Shelton gets one more, something like that. Maybe Zverev gets one more. Maybe Felix wins his first. Like it could be something like that. But I feel like it will be, as far as the majors, the rest of the tour, I think they still have a chance in best of 3 just because they're not going to play all 9 Masters 1000s.
No. I wouldn't be surprised if they both skip Canada again, despite the protestations of the tournament director.
Yeah, he will probably not play more than 6, if I were to guess, for Carlos. And for Yannick, it's very similar, either 6 or somewhere in the 5 to 7 range.
But again, Vance, you think this time next year they've cleaned up?
Again,
you think they've cleaned up the slams?
I think they're going to split up the slams again. I would love to see it in a different order, though. I would love to see, like, you know, Carlos winning Australia and Wimbledon, and then Yannick winning Roland Garros US Open.
Yeah. All right. I think that brings it to an end. Unless either of you got something to add to anything we've just said. Cool.
No.
All right. Great. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I will have a video posting in the next couple of days on these tennis rackets that I've tried out. I've got them to my right. Volkel, which is a bit of an old school name. They used to, I think, Peter Korda and Becker have used Volkel in the past. And I think I put out a question yesterday. I think you, Vance, were saying that no one in the top 100, at least not to my knowledge, uses these rackets anymore. So I've tried out a couple of their rackets and very
that might have been Mert, right?
Go on, say again, Vance.
I think that might have been Mert.
Oh, Mert. It might be Mert. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I think it was Mert. Yeah. Slightly unusual racket head, by the way. You see how that's a bit sort of thinner and not quite so round. But I enjoyed it. I'll be posting my review of these 2 rackets in the next couple of days. What racket do you use, Vance?
So right now I use the Babolat Aero Pro. No, not the Aero Pro. It's the Pure Drive Team.
Okay, I've got Pure Strike, the red and black one. That's
sorry, Pure Strike. Yeah, the team racket, the Dominic team.
Team, exactly.
Yeah, 22.
Team, and didn't what's his name? Did Cam Norrie use it as well? Maybe.
Yes.
Team definitely, and I think Cam Norrie. What about you, Ben? What racket do you use?
I have a Yonex. I don't know about the description, but I like it.
An E-Zone? That's like the most popular now.
Probably.
The Yonex E-Zone.
Yeah. Is Yonex, isn't that Medvedev and Swiatek? Is that Yonex?
In Keys. Most recently.
Well.
She made the switch.
What about Paulini? What's she using? Is she Yonex?
I think so.
There's that famous picture with her racket this year. And that feels like it was a Yonex one.
She's using Yonex. Yeah. There's that.
And Yoshi.
That photo where she looks like she's got this face mask.
Yeah, it's great.
Is that the one? Yeah,
I do think the plaudits that the photographer gets are possibly over the top because I do think there's more luck than judgment when it comes to that. It's not like he was waiting all year for that picture to occur. But this is coming from someone who I'm so bad at photography that when somebody, like a couple, like I meet in London or wherever, Paris or whatever, and they say, "Oh, excuse me, can you take a picture?" I'm like, "I'll take one, but you're going to regret this." All right. And they're like, "No, I'm sure it can't be that bad." Anyway, I take the picture, I take 3 or 4 just to hopefully one of them, strikes gold. I give them the phone and I just see their very disappointed faces as I walk away. And often they're looking for someone else to take a decent picture. So if you ever run into me and you want me to take a picture, don't ask. I think you're better off just choosing a blind person, basically, and you might have better luck. Okay.
Yeah. Shout out to Ray Gublio, by the way, for the photo.
Yeah, so he's the photographer, is he? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Cheers, guys, and we'll catch up with you all very soon, and you know the drill. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.